Yo, what is going on, guys? Troy here, Superhuman You, and tell you what, you are gonna love this video. What you're about to learn is gonna be completely backed up by science, and I guarantee you've never heard it on any other fitness channel before. And if you don't implement what I teach you in this video, you will absolutely never reach your full muscle building potential. And I was so excited to find this research study. It's something that I've always kind of had a theory about it, and I never really knew how to connect the dots and explain how it worked with science. So this video is gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna teach you how to make steroid-like lean muscle gains and actually prove it to you with science on my fancy little diagram that I borrowed from Leonardo here. And this actually brings me back to why I wanted to start this channel in the first place. I've kind of got sidetracked doing different types of content, trying to build the channel, but what it comes down to is I love doing experiments. I love trying outside the box things to try to transform my body, try to transform my mind, and just overall becoming the most epic version of myself. Because if I can't become the most epic version of myself, who am I to try to teach it to you guys? So this is gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna dive into my first concept here, and we're gonna talk about something called nuclei overload. So I wanna draw this quick little diagram here, and I'm not an art major, so bear with me. So, you're gonna see what I'm doing here in a second. Okay, what is this besides some really terrible artwork? Well, these are muscle cells. Now, the human body has all these different cells, and your muscle cells are really unique because your muscle cells are the only cells in the human body that can actually have more than one nuclei. Now, why are nuclei important in muscle cells? Well, I want you to think of these nuclei. These are some bad motherfuckers. These are the dudes who actually make the gains happen. These are the ones who initiate protein synthesis. They secrete hormones. They're what really helps your body adapt and transform bigger and stronger. Now, people say like, oh, that dude's big because he has good genetics, or oh, he has bad genetics, or I have bad genetics, so I can't build muscle. What does that really mean when someone says they have good and bad genetics? Well, this is exactly what it means with science. You have muscle cells. Now, the amount of nuclei that is in each muscle cell dictates how big and strong that muscle can get. So I want you to think of this as Bob. This is Bob, Jim, and all the way over here is Fred. So this is a muscle cell in the bicep muscle of Bob, Jim, and Fred. Why is this relevant? Well, Bob, Jim, and Fred can do the exact same training plan. They can eat the exact same thing, lift the exact same weights. Literally, they're clones of each other, doing the exact same diet and workout regimen. And the person with more nuclei in the muscle cell is gonna grow much faster. So Bob over here, think of Bob as like, got a light flickering on, think of Bob here as a really serious hard gainer. Fred is like a classic mesomorph. Think of Fred as just like this genetically gifted beast who can pack on slabs of muscle mass. You know those dudes like you were in high school and like say you're skinny or have average genetics and you're in high school, and it seems like some of the dudes, maybe like the star of the football team, your sophomore or junior year of high school, remember how he could just like squat 300 pounds, he was benching 275, 300 pounds, and it really came easy to him? That is because he had more nuclei in his muscle cells. Now, in this video, I'm gonna teach you how to actually increase the nuclei in your muscle cells. And why I said steroid-like lean muscle gains is because what actually happens when you take steroids, when you have really elevated levels of testosterone, what it does is it actually increases the nuclei in the muscle cells. So you have these things called stem cell. You have these things, these are called satellite cells on the stem cell. And this is actually where the nuclei come from. So you're probably thinking like, where do these nuclei magically appear from? Well, they come from the stem cells. So these satellite cells travel into the muscle cell, and I think I need a new marker here, but these satellite cells travel into the muscle cell, and then say like when you do a really heavy set of deadlifts, you do a lot of progressive overload, you just increase your strength, maybe you are new to the gym and you notice you start like packing on some gains, we call these newbie gains. When you start working out, you naturally are gonna get a few more nuclei into the muscle cell, but over time, this basically shuts down. But you're gonna learn in this video how to rapidly spike these nuclei. So that is where the nuclei come from. They come from these stem cells. So Bob, Jim, and Fred doing the exact same regimen. Fred is gonna grow much faster than Bob. Okay, so obviously now you're probably wondering, how do I get more nuclei into the muscle cell? Because more nuclei equals more growth. And by the way, just the simple thing of having more nuclei in the muscle cell doesn't guarantee muscle growth. It just gives your body way more potential to build muscle mass. So when you actually start working out, training with progressive overload, that's why guys who do kind of the same thing, why one person will grow much faster than the other. But you could have all the nuclei in the world in your muscle cells, and if you don't actually work out, it's not going to do anything for you. But obviously, if you're watching this video, I take it you're training like a beast, you're in the gym trying to make some gains. So 2 things increase, and I got my shitty marker here, 2 things increase the nuclei. Woo. Increase nuclei. Number 1, steroids. Super elevated levels of testosterone. This is one of the main reasons why steroids build muscle. In fact, you could actually take someone, I think I read this study where they had 3 different groups of people. They had one guy who was all natural, training really hard to build muscle mass. They had one guy who didn't really train at all, and then they had another guy who was training and taking steroids. Obviously, the guy training and taking steroids gained the most muscle mass. And actually, the guy who was just taking steroids, who had worked out previously but didn't really work out at all on this experiment, gained more muscle mass than the guy naturally training with just a typical progressive overload regimen. So it just shows you how powerful anabolic hormones are. That's why anyone who takes steroids in the fitness industry, I'm really not all that impressed with their physique. Obviously, pro bodybuilders and all that put in a ton of work, but I'm going to teach you guys how to make amazing steroid-like gains without actually sacrificing your health and all of the negative side effects. So steroids increase the nuclei in the cell. Number 2 is this type of training called nuclei overload. And I kind of stumbled across this accidentally because I'm going to backtrack. Back when I was in high school, I used to like train the shit out of my chest. I would do push-ups like every night before I would go to bed. I would just do a lot of high volume, short rest time training on my chest. And then I noticed when I started lifting weights, my chest was growing faster than anything. I noticed, I did the same thing for shoulders like 4 or 5 years ago. I was just obsessed with my shoulders. I would just do shoulders every day. I didn't even like know that you weren't supposed to work out a muscle group every day, but I'm gonna get to why you maybe should in a second. And I noticed I started training my shoulders like 1 to 2 times a week. Motherfucker just grew like that. And I started hearing about more and more stories about this. There was this professional bodybuilder named Johnny Jackson. And the guy's got like the biggest traps I have ever seen in my life. And in an interview, he talks about how he used to, at the end of his workouts, he was in high school. For 3 straight years, he did this, like almost every single day of the week. He was trying to impress girls, impress everyone at the gym. He would load up and put like 5 45s on each side, just do shrugs for like 6 sets of 15 to 20 reps, just to try to show off and impress people at the gym. You notice his traps, biggest muscle group on his body. In fact, I'll flash a picture right now. Dude has some of the biggest traps I've ever seen in my life. The football player, LaRon Landry, you look at a picture of him, what do you notice? He's got huge biceps. Dude claims he works out his arms every single day for a couple of years. So, what am I getting at? Well, we have come to find out, and there's actually a research study that I'm going to put in the description below, that training a muscle group really frequently, like every single day for 4 to 6 weeks, depending on where you're at. For me personally, I've been in the gym for like 5+ years. I would do this for 4 to 6 weeks to really reap the benefits. But this research study indicated that if you do lots of high volume, short rest time training for an elongated period of time every single day, you can actually increase the nuclei in your muscle cells. So think of this as a bicep muscle. You start off with say 4 nuclei in the bicep muscle. And what you're gonna do here is for 30 straight days, you're gonna work out that bicep muscle every single day. You're gonna fill that bicep muscle with blood, get that pump, get that massive pump going in those arms every single day. This is in fact what I'm doing right now. I'm on week 3 of my Nuclei Overload training on my biceps. I'm gonna update you guys, show you guys a bunch of progress pictures. I took measurements and everything, so you guys are gonna see exactly how this helped my arms grow. But I'm doing this right now for my biceps. So what I'm doing here is I'm literally doing 5 to 10 sets every single day, each set between 10 and 20 repetitions, getting that maximum pump, and I'm doing this every single day. Every day I do arms, literally every day right now. So I'm on like day 15, 16. So right now, say I have 4 nuclei right in the bicep muscle. Now, keep in mind, my arms won't look bigger yet. All I'm doing is I'm increasing the nuclei. So on day 30 of doing arms every single day, and I'm going pretty hardcore, like I really want this to be a true experiment on how good this training theory works. By day 30, let's say I have 4 nuclei here. Let's say I get up to 11 here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what I've done by overtraining my arms for 30 straight days is I've increased the nuclei in the muscle cell in my biceps. Now this training theory works best if you just focus on 1 to 2 muscle groups at the most every single 30 days. Now, this is key right here. To really reap the benefits of this training style, you've got to take at least 5 to 10 days off. Just kind of go by how you feel. But after 30 days of training arms every day, I'm gonna let my arms heal. And I'm not gonna do any bicep movement, any bicep exercise for a full week. I think I'm gonna do 7 days off. So I'm gonna rest for 7 days, put R equals 7. And this means not even pulling, like I'm not even gonna do back. I'm not going to engage my bicep muscle at all. This part is so key, so key. Do not miss out on this part, because all you've done so far is increase the nuclei in that muscle cell. You haven't actually grown the bicep muscle. Then you're gonna take 7 days off and you're gonna go back to training that muscle group every 1 to 2 days max. Just your normal workouts, trying to get stronger, trying to squeeze a muscle, normal progressive overload style workouts. What you're gonna notice for the next 2 months is that bicep muscle is gonna grow way faster than all the other muscle groups in your body. And then the cool thing about this training strategy is while you're training your biceps normally now, you can implement nuclei overload on another muscle group. So I think next what I'm gonna do is I'm going to probably do shoulders next. I might do upper chest, really pinpoint some specific muscle groups I wanna target. Maybe I'll do traps, get some monster traps going. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cycle this nuclei overload training for the next 6 months, and I'm gonna bring up every single one of my muscle groups. So hopefully that makes sense so far. And it's crazy because like I see this so many times, like between LeBron Landry and certain bodybuilders who are known for having certain body parts overdeveloped. If you really ask them what they did in the past, it makes perfect sense. They overtrained the shit out of this muscle group for a certain amount of time. They built up more nuclei in the muscle cell, and then wham, this shit grows way faster than all the other muscle groups. So the really cool thing about this nuclei overload training is once you have more nuclei in the muscle cell, it stays in that muscle cell for up to 10 to 15 years, which is amazing. And just to further prove this point of it actually staying in the muscle cell for this period of time, take a look at a picture, the before and after of this pro bodybuilder named Kevin Levrone, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. 52 years old, he recently competed in the Mr. Olympia contest. He, I think, took 12th or 13th, didn't do that well, but the guy looks absolutely insane. I mean, to be 13 in Mr. Olympia basically means you're like the 13th most jacked human being in the world. I mean, most guys are pretty proud if they're one of like the top 3 guys at their local gym. This guy's top 15, 13 in the entire world at 52. Take a look at his before and after. Before, he looks like a guy who didn't even work out a couple years ago. And then after, he gained like 75 pounds of muscle mass. Now, Kevin, obviously he's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. He overtrained the shit out of his body his entire life, which obviously he has a massive amount of nuclei in that cell. He's also taken steroids. I don't know if he's ever admitted to this, but it's kind of common knowledge that IFBB pro bodybuilders, they're all on steroids. This isn't breaking information. I feel confident in saying that anyone competing on a pro level in bodybuilding is on steroids. So he's doing 2 things that increase the nuclei in the muscle cell. That's why someone like Kevin can gain 75 to 100 pounds of muscle mass in a very short period of time, while most people their entire life can't even gain, 40 to 50 pounds of muscle mass. So it's gonna stay in your muscle cell for a really long period of time. In fact, I'm gonna do a ton of videos in the near future. Make sure you guys subscribe because I'm gonna walk you through my nuclei overload training on my biceps that I'm doing. In fact, the next video that I film, I'm gonna talk about the nuclei overload training I'm doing on my arms right now. I'm gonna walk you through my bicep routine, my leg routine, my ab routine when it gets to the springtime. And you guys wanna take your physique to the next level. I don't care what fancy training strategy you get thrown at your face. The quickest way to make steroid-like lean muscle gains is gonna be this nuclei overload training combined with a really good progressive overload system after the training is done. So make sure you subscribe. I'm gonna be talking about this in depth in a lot of other future videos. But yeah, once you do it once you overtrain a muscle group for 30, 35 days, if you're a beginner, I wouldn't do it for more than 20 days. Those nuclei are gonna stay in your muscle cell for 5, 10, up to 15 years, which is awesome. And that's another thing too, like if you meet someone and they say they used to take steroids, but they don't anymore, they're all natural. Once you take steroids one time, you have an advantage of more nuclei in the muscle cell. So even if you took steroids 5 years ago, you still have the capability of building more muscle mass than someone who didn't take those steroids 5 years ago, if that makes sense. That just shows you how powerful this nuclei overload training is. But I don't want you guys to go the quick route because steroids, a ton of negative consequences. I should probably cover it in a future video. And on top of that, you taking steroids to look better. I just saw this dude at the gym yesterday and he had this massive acne all over his shoulders and his back, a really young dude. So I knew he was on steroids because just too high of testosterone levels is gonna result in terrible acne, receding hairline, tons of negative consequences even with your physical appearance. I'm gonna get into all of it in a future video. But like I said, steroid-like lean muscle gains, if you just do the nuclei overload training for the next 6 months with every single muscle group in your body. I don't care if you're an ectomorph, I don't care if you're 115 pounds. I used to be 130 pounds and 6'1", 130 pounds. I'm 6'1", almost 200 pounds right now. So I know this works and I know I can take my physique to the next level, get up to 215, 220 over the next 6 to 8 months following this routine. So make sure you subscribe. That is all I got for now. And one more thing, in the description below, I'm actually gonna give you a little training sheet of a sample nuclei overload arm training routine that I use off and on. I'm gonna make a video of my entire routine, but in the meantime, I want you guys to have a little sample routine so you can implement it quickly. And if you have any questions about this whatsoever, please leave it in the comments below. Definitely gonna do a good job of answering all of your comments and questions. So anyways, make sure you subscribe. Signing off for now. Talk to you soon. My Instagram for my boy Jamal Ali, all the way from Australia. Seems like a motivated young fellow. So first of all, you can do this with a straight bar. I'm using an easy bar curl.